All right, Robert. We are talking to the CEO of Snappy Kraken, and he's in the marketing world. He's in the financial advisor industry. If you haven't heard of him before or Snappy Kraken before, so he knows his stuff. The things I'm interested in, what I want to learn today is what's working for advisors. It's the end of 2024. What's been working in terms of marketing, attracting people to them? And then where do you see the highest leverage activities? What are the things we should be paying attention to moving into 2025 and beyond? So I guess to start, if that sounds okay with you, what's working? What has been working for advisors in marketing?
One of the things that when you ask the question, "What's working?" that immediately comes to my mind is that there are things that are working for certain advisors that aren't working for others. And so you often say, "What's working?" The answer is everything and nothing. Because, like
Wait,
in
wait,
your
is
own case,
door
Dave,
knocking
I
still
I
working?
admire Hey, I don't know
Okay,
any advisors
okay.
doing that. That might be an exception. Yeah, that might be an exception. Maybe it is. Somewhere I don't know. I'm definitely not working with those advisors, but I look at, for example, what you're doing with video and it's working for you, but there's a lot of advisors that video is not working for. That's an example. Saying you could say the same thing about podcasting or workshops or online advertising. And so when you look at strategies, there is definitely a factor, which is the advisor's personality and competency and niche and persistence and consistency and location.
Mhm.
And so I could go on and on. So one of the things that I see a lot happen in this industry is somebody gets on a call and they're somebody who sells a certain thing. Like, if they sell online advertising, that's what works. If they sell podcasting, that's what works. And so, when I step back as somebody who works with 7,000 advisors, and I look at the data, there's always these pockets where certain things are working and certain things aren't. So that is why often when I'm asked this question, I revert back to first principles of marketing, because what is working 100% of the time is what's
Mm.
executed well. And that could be on virtually any channel or any method.
So now, specifically to Snappy Kraken helping advisors, what are the things that what's the specialty where you're diving in when you're giving advice or when they're coming to Snappy Kraken? What's kind of like maybe it's the highest level thing, like just the connection points, whether it's email or whether it's webinar. I know I'm getting tactical and practical. You brought us higher level to what works is what you could be anything, but what's working within Snappy Kraken for those advisors who are seeing success? Uh, Anything specific you can give us?
Oh yeah, yeah, of course. I know you weren't looking for that answer,
I get it.
but I also uh, I felt compelled to share it because it's a misnomer when, um, somebody says, "Hey, this is what's working best," in a lot of cases, because it doesn't apply universally. But I will tell you that there are definitely common trends, and when I look at the data, so we launched about 600,000
Mm.
campaigns last year. This year in 2024, we're way over that already, probably pushing 750,000 campaigns, and we can see what's generating clicks and conversions. And here are some of the common trends. So the advisors that have a complete system always
Mm.
get better performance. That's number 1. There is, a very common mistake where advisors will engage in certain top of funnel activities, like they'll do seminars, or they'll do advertising, or they'll do radio or television. And then they get a certain amount of top of funnel opportunities, but they don't have a good follow-up system. It's not automated, it's not consistent, and they don't benefit from that investment. And so what we do is when we look at the data on all these advisors and their marketing, we do look at individual tactics. Like I can tell you right now, LinkedIn outperforms Twitter by far. Facebook only really performs well for advisors that are
Mm.
focused on retirees. And so there's some data like that we have, which is very tactical. But when you look at overall performance of actual volumes of leads and then lead conversion, the ones that have woven together the following elements are getting the best results. So number 1, they have diversified their top of funnel activities. They're typically engaged in a number of activities. So they'll do events, they'll do online advertising, they'll have thought leadership content that they're also promoting, and they cross-pollinate those things. So if somebody's listening to their podcast or they are consuming certain content on a certain channel, they will then promote their events to those people. So they have these these harmonious top of funnel activities that all are centered around timely campaigns. So they will, for example, in the first quarter, they will plan what their marketing themes are going to be for tax season. And so when we look at the highest performing campaigns between January and April 15th, they're all around tax savings strategies for high net worth investors, typically. Or during the election, the highest performing content was all around how election cycles affect the markets. And of course, you and your listeners probably know that it doesn't have a huge material effect, but people think it does. And so there's a lot of questions about that. So timely campaigns that are promoted on multiple channels and that funnel into sequences, automated follow-up sequences that primarily leverage email and text
Mm.
messaging, because those two channels are the highest performing for open and click rates. Globally, what's working the best? It is top of funnel activities around popular themes that drive all the traffic into automated sequences for immediate follow-up and ongoing follow-up by email and text message. That particular combination is what's yielding the highest volume
Okay.
and
And when you say
conversions.
campaigns, you said multiple channels. So I'm thinking there's the free content marketing on multiple channels. There's also the paid advertising route. Is there one that our advisors are using more than the other? Or tell me, talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so the organic traffic from advisors doing their own marketing is generally low. There are exceptions. There are advisors that build phenomenal social media followings. There are advisors that have a lot of brand equity in their markets. There are advisors who excel on a certain channel. They can be particularly enlightening and entertaining, and they drive a lot of organic traffic. And that's the holy grail because the cost is low, and that's what a lot of marketing experts talk about as well. But most advisors just aren't good at executing. The value of original thought leadership and promoting that well is outstanding. But again, most don't excel. So what we see is when you've got 1,000 advisors from a financial advisor network, it's going to be less than 5% that are doing that typically. The 95%, the vast majority, they are using paid resources. And so our happiest clients who are getting the most business and the most growth, they're using our system for all of the automation and the nurturing and the follow-up and the reporting and the data and the insights and the contact management and the data enrichment and contact enrichment so they can see assets, and they're using all this inside of our system. But at the top of the funnel, they're either buying leads. Some of them are using Dave Ramsey, some of them are using Smart Assets, some of them are using Zoe. They're buying leads, or they are running workshops. They're using Leading Response, they're using White Glove, they're using these resources to
That's the
get in front of
seminar
people,
route, you mean?
and they're paying
Workshops?
for.
Okay. And that's
Yep,
in person
yep,
or
yep.
online workshop, webinar?
So so in person is what the majority are doing. The virtual workshops are much more rare. The advisors we see having success with virtual workshops are niche focused typically. We've got some advisors who focus on working with executives and people in oil, like on
Hmm.
oil rigs and oil communities out in Texas. We've got some that focus on working with technology entrepreneurs, and they do well with virtual events. But typically, most advisors are doing in-person events. Then they're doing online advertising as well. Some are spending for Google ads, Facebook ads to reach their audience. And so typically there's a paid traffic source. We have one client who it's an enterprise. They have about 800 advisors and they spend a lot of money
Hmm.
on TV and radio. And they're generating, television ads for about $200, leads for about $200 a lead off of the television. And then those can be very expensive and a big waste of money unless you have a good follow-up system. So again, what we're seeing is a lot of paid promotions at the top of the funnel with a good follow-up system is the most predictable formula for revenue growth. Not the only way, but it is the most common way with the fastest growing
Okay.
firms.
It's just to simplify, sum it up, paid campaigns is a piece. That's important because it's harder to get the organic marketing. There's a lot that's involved with that, but paid, anybody can do it if you do it right. Then getting them into either email and or text sequences to kind of lead them. Would you say it's just more touch points, more engagement, getting them used to who you are as an advisor, and then in the meantime, you're understanding the data behind it all, and that's what Snappy Kraken is doing with data, not you manually figuring it all out, but hey, this person is interested in this topic. This is where they are. All the important information about them is saved. So wha- we've got before we go forward, I'm just interested in that data piece, how that works in Snappy Kraken. But any other important info just about the different channels and things like that um, worth mentioning?
Yeah, I think what I'll share about the data, which is key to all these marketing decisions. Not everybody has the same scale or budget, so not every method is necessarily going to work. But when you look globally, so I can tell you right now, online advertising, so pay per click advertising, is generating opt ins to advisors' lists at about $27 to $30 per opt in. So that's
Okay.
list building. Now, that's just an email, that's not a client yet. But then when I talked about activities being harmonized with each other or working together, that same online advertising can lead to seminar attendees or in-person workshop or even online event attendees. And the average when you're doing advertising for events works out to be about $35 per registration. That's the average. It's actually $35.33 per registration. Radio, the ROI, when you get into the actual ROI on radio, television, and workshops, here's what we're seeing. ROI on radio advertising is 2.4x. That's from advertising costs to client. Television, 1.6x, typically because television's a lot more expensive in some markets. The leads go up as high as $1,000. So about 200 is the average, but you've got ranges from $40 to $1,000 per lead. So, but still 1.6x ROI. And then seminars, workshops, that's one of the reasons I mentioned them. 2.5x ROI with about $1,000 per appointment set. That's how we track it. So once you actually spend money on seminars, get people there, the cost to actually get somebody into your office that's qualified is about $1,000 per appointment. So that gives you some idea, of what the data shows for actual lead gen activities from the top of the funnel.
Yeah. And when we're talking about channels, you had mentioned LinkedIn performs a little bit better than X or Twitter. Facebook, good, but mainly for retiree clients. And when you're talking about paid ads, where's the focus for a lot of advisors?
Yeah, so for us, we only know the paid ads that we are running, and so we usually focus on a high net worth audience and a timely topic. So we're
Okay.
targeting usually inside zip codes where there's affluent population with something around estate planning or taxes that always performs best, and we're trying to drive not too niche focused for us because we don't have the scale to do a bunch of niche focused advertising. So it's a
Mhm.
little bit more general, but I can tell you taxes and estate planning are the two highest converting topics with high net worth audiences inside of high net worth geographies.
Okay. A little bit off topic, but pretend you had this all figured out and it was great. You had the paid ads, you had the sequences where people were getting nurtured and or they were showing up for seminars or workshops or whatever. You had the data. Do you or does the team ever run into advisors who can do all that stuff, but then it gets to their actual offer and their product or their service, and it's just not good and it's not converting because it's not perceived as valuable to people? Have you run into that? What do you say when that happens? Because like you could do all this great marketing stuff, but what if you don't have anything good? Any thoughts around that? Do you help people with that? Or do you point them elsewhere?
It's true. It's true. I mean, part of what Snappy Kraken has to acknowledge, I have to acknowledge, is that we're not marketing consultants. We are a software platform. We provide advisors with the tools. The templates are there. The nurturing sequences are there. It's easy. You make a video, you drop the link, and it populates into an entire campaign just off the link. I mean,
Mm,
it saves advisors tons of time. But to your point, anecdotally, I'll give you some examples. I mean, we found in I mentioned using email and text message to nurture prospects. So we started testing putting videos in those emails and in those text messages. And all of a sudden, the open rates and the click rates doubled when we
mm,
linked back to a video, doubled. So we told our advisors, you will get double the engagement if you incorporate a video. Well, there were some advisors who were so bad on camera that their conversion rate went down when
mm.
they started including videos. And look, it is what it is. I mean, not everybody can record a great video. And so we talked about, well, what do we need to do? Do we need to fly them into our studio and record video? Do we need to give them video coaching? And finally, we decided, you know what? No, that's another business. And so we partnered up with Idea Decanter and we send everybody to
Hmm.
them video coaching. Same thing with tax strategies or estate planning strategies. We started realizing, because the data always shows us what people are clicking and converting on, that those two topics were driving the most amount of conversions. So we leaned in. We started producing more content. We started showing it to advisors. And then our support lines were getting calls like, I have these clients, they want estate planning. I don't do estate planning. I'm not an attorney. What happened? And so we
Mm.
partnered up with Trust and Will to help advisors address that challenge. And so I think, to your point, great marketing can be a curse if you're not prepared for it. We even have advisors who we generate hundreds of new opportunities for them, and then they don't follow up, and then they call us and want to cancel, and we say, "What happened?" And they said, "Well, I didn't know what to say." What do you mean you didn't know what to say? I mean, that's a sales process problem, but we're not here to solve that problem. I'd love to say I could solve all the problems, but the
Yeah.
the real success comes when you have a great advisor who knows their business and has good processes and is successful at engaging with people about a variety of challenges. And then we can market for them and they know what to do with the opportunities. But that's definitely not every advisor.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a good problem to have if you've got the marketing figured out and you've got people reaching out to you because that allows you to test and get better and see, what people really want and then kind of refine your own process or the product. I say product, but just the things that you deliver for people. So it might not be the worst thing as long as you're willing to test and fail and keep making it better little by little. That's great. Okay, so we kind of covered some of the call it the top of funnel things, awareness, what's working, how to get people engaged, and then follow up through those certain areas. Um, and then can you talk a little bit more about, we keep saying data, and I know that, it's every business is a data analytics company now, or the ones that will succeed moving forward. But what is the actual data when they're using Snappy Kraken? What are they seeing? What's it telling them? How are they using that to move forward?
Yeah, I have a really big problem with most of the data in the marketing industry because when it comes to being an advisor, clicks don't mean business for you. And there's a lot of vanity metrics, how many likes you get on social media and how many followers you have on LinkedIn. And those things are at best they're leading indicators of success. But it's the actual conversion into clients that matters. And so we've really tried to focus more on the metrics that show where growth comes from. So we've done a few things. So for one, we've started to enrich all the contacts as they come in. So we're starting to integrate with data enrichment providers. And so as leads come in, we're able to identify which ones have the most potential, likely the most investable assets, the most net worth. Secondly, we're measuring their actual engagement. It's not uncommon for somebody to click on something, opt in with a name and a phone number and an email address, perhaps, that could be fake, just to get a piece of information. And that's useless. I mean, it doesn't really have value. So if you can qualify them and then you can measure their engagement, you can start to see, are they real? Are they qualified? And then are they really interested? So part of the process of getting somebody from the stage where they have early awareness of your brand to where they trust you and want to work with you is the ability to actually get them engaging with you and your content so you're building trust and credibility. That's where we focus a lot of the measurement. So, are they opening? What are they clicking on? What topics are they interested in? How much money do they have? Where do they live? What's the value of their home? And then you get a portrait of the prospect. And so now we're starting to surface your 10 most valuable opportunities every single week. So, who is most valuable, most engaged? And then what we're also able to do now with Gen AI is when you see somebody's clicked on 40 different emails over the last 6 months, you learn pretty fast what they're interested in. And then you can start to compose dynamically messages that are hyper personalized to their actual interests and
Hmm.
engage them on a one to one basis. So in our interface now, we have something called an opportunity feed. And as it's surfacing these opportunities, it gives you three options to either text them, email them, or add them to a pre built nurturing campaign. And now you can see they opted in on this, they're interested in this. This is their category they fall into in terms of net worth. This is where they work. And now you can actually reach out to them, not just with your bland, canned newsletter that you're sending to everybody, which might not be relevant or interesting to them, but with something that actually is relevant and interesting.
Okay. So those top 10 or whatever it is, those most important people, so you're saying you're recommending the one-to-one. Like, when does it get very personal? Not the mass email to the top 50 or 100, but like I and are you saying that Snappy Kraken gives you an idea of what to say? Like, because of you said generative AI, so that's an I didn't know that was all involved in Snappy Kraken. So it's just figuring out because of what they're clicking on mainly. There's nothing else that it's pulling from outside sources around these specific people, right? Because when you talk about AI, there's all these other things going on. This is just within this ecosystem of emails and clicking what's important to them. It's tracking it, and then it's kind of saying, this person cares about this. Here's your top 10. They clicked on 90% of the last, whatever, 20 emails. So contact them. Is that what it's kind of
So,
saying?
so it is something you probably have to see. As of today, we take all the opportunities, we score them based on their engagement. We have an integration with Catchlight, so you can actually see their Catchlight score, their net worth, estimated with about 90% accuracy, net
Okay.
worth, home value, things like that in their profile. And then we are ranking your opportunities based on and building a pipeline for you based on net worth and engagement, surfacing those into a feed. So when you go in, you can see your hottest opportunities scored and ranked, and then you can click to either text them, email them, or add them to a pre-existing campaign. That's today. That's all available now.
Okay.
What's coming next is right now when you click text or email, it opens a modal window. So you have to decide what to type. Now you can see what they converted on. You can see every email they clicked, everything they opened, every campaign they've engaged with. You can see all that in the record. But then you've got to use your own ingenuity to create a response. What we are actually building today is the AI is reading that data and formulating the message for you, which you can then click to regenerate different versions quickly as you want, or
Hmm.
overwrite it. So what we're already doing is saying, here are your best opportunities, engage with them one to one. But what we're going to be doing next, very, very short order, is also giving you the words to say. And that is going to be faster.
Wow. That sounds very interesting. So that's coming out next year sometime, 2025?
Yeah, early, definitely in the first quarter. Yep. And
Okay.
what we have today that I just described is already extremely powerful. I would say the market doesn't
Hmm.
really know about it much yet. It's something our users are adopting and having a lot of success with, and we're documenting case studies, success stories, results. But the broader market will definitely catch on to this next year. I have no doubt.
So we talked top of funnel, what's working. We talked engagement, middle. We even talked like, about our service and product and helping people, increasing our value. What else should advisors be thinking about moving forward? Anything come to mind? I know this is a broad topic, but just in the marketing world, yeah, anything at all come to mind?
Yeah, there's a few things that come to mind. I'll let you decide which path you want to go down, but there's the whole client engagement piece and what that means
Mm,
for business expansion, for particularly referral generation and how you can systemize that. And then there's also just the industry trends that are happening right now. I mean, we've got. I think there are some external threats to our industry. There are some industry specific threats, and there are some technological and market adaptation risks as well. And so all those things come to mind. I mean, I think right now, I've been in this industry for 2 decades, and I've seen a lot of change. I mean, I've scaled an advisory business. This is my second marketing company. I think the convergence of external threats, internal challenges, technological disruption, I think it's giving our industry a massive opportunity, and it's going to be a challenge to those who aren't prepared for it or willing to adapt. So those are things we could certainly dive into if we had,
let's dive in. Let's dive into the threats.
yeah, 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 absolutely. Um, so here are a few things that I see. So first of all, I'll focus on the internal industry threats. So if you look at the overall growth rate of the industry organically, it's very slow, very, very slow, 2 to 3%. is the average of advisors. Now, I know some firms are growing a lot faster, but they're doing things differently. The slow growth is because many advisors are running lifestyle businesses. They're not leaning into growth, and then the firms that are there's private equity money and venture capital flowing into this industry that's driving growth at some firms. But the market growth has covered a lot of sins, and at some point, that's gonna catch up to the industry. And so there's a lot of expectations that I have for the way even the leadership changes in the industry are happening. I mean, if you look at the number of executives that have left big firms lately and the shakeups and the changes, I mean, I think a lot of them saw some of the stagnation and the consolidation, and they recognized that it's going to be really difficult to navigate. And that's a big part of why they decided this was the right time to move on. So advisors that are going to thrive in this industry, they need to adapt to changing technology. So the way AI is changing things, just take, for example, your ability to actually get reach and connect with people online. Posting on social media is up over 60% since ChatGPT came out. But
Mhm.
most of it is bots. And so there's way more noise to compete with. That's just one example. You've got all these new technology startups that are coming in and disrupting the market. Your next competitor is probably not the advisor you think it is. It's probably somebody building a finance startup in their garage right now. They're probably in college. And because of even changing consumer expectations and the the way that doing business is changing, moving online, people looking for um, different things from their advisors. It's not a golf course, country club, back nine handshake kind of business anymore for most advisors. And so I think there's a lot of market and technological risks. Those are just a few that have to be adapted to.
So what do we do? Because you just gotta I think maybe it goes back to the always be learning and failing, like testing some of these things out, not ignoring how, at least for now, how to become more efficient or how to have your team become more efficient with AI. A big piece that I think about is AI, yes, and future services doing more and more of the technical work pretty easily, and it's done well, but people still will, for the time being, need to connect in some way or get human oversight for implementation of, meaning the thing that AI can't replicate right now, it could commoditize expertise, but it can't yet commoditize wisdom because there's a human element somewhere in there where we've sat with people and it can't yet sit with somebody and say, I helped this person do the same exact thing. If, all the empathetic, emotional things, it can act with empathy, but it's not it yet. So I'm just leaning into, I think our team is leaning into the actual face-to-face communication or through the screen communication, because I think we're going to be, I mean, our email, me and you emailing now or soon, it's like, well, Robert is a Myers-Briggs style, this Enneagram, this, compose the email where he instantly understands it. And we'll be these amazing communicators via text, no problem. But then when we talk face-to-face, there won't be any of that. So I think leaning into the interpersonal face-to-face one-on-one communication, a lot of what uh, Brian Portnoy is doing with Shaping Wealth. We just went through his course. I think
Yep.
leaning into that is one practical thing to think about for advisors when it comes to adapting to some of these future threats.
Oh yeah, no, I actually think it makes perfect sense. I couldn't agree more. I mean, the AI is it's like an automated assistant. It's a virtual assistant. It does. We are not to a place where it can replace the ability to really connect with people. And the advisors who showcase their personality, their values, their expertise in a unique way that resonates with their audience, they're going to win. And so even as I talk about AI and being that our tools are AI empowered, I've actually had people call me out before that because they said, you're talking about the power of AI, but then you said AI isn't going to make the connection. And so I want to be really clear. AI should speed up your work. It should help you with ideation and creation and replication of your thought leadership, but you have to be at the center of it all. And that's why even with our content, we try so hard, Dave, and it bugs me to no end when advisors won't respond, but we try so hard to get them to, if we're building them a website, I mean, we're kicking out 150 websites right now. We
Mm.
we're begging them to just get professional photography. some of them won't spend the money on it. We're begging them to do some video work for their website. We launch a new campaign to nurture their prospects that come into their funnel that has great copywriting. We say, if you'll just make here's a script, if you'll just record this video in your office as a welcome message to everybody who opts in, they won't do it. Because there's there is a resistance by a lot of advisors, probably not the ones that listen to your podcast, but to not do the work. I think they've been
Mm.
spoiled for so long. And um, I think the ones who are willing to package up, again, their personality, their values, their expertise, put their face, their personality, their image at the center of it, then AI and automation can just take all of that and make you so much more effective. You can serve more clients in less time effectively with those tools. But that hybrid approach is what it's gonna take to win, I think, in the years ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Do you have time to touch on the client referral side of things and quick ideas there?
Yeah, yeah, so actually, I'll tell you, we're actually, launching something next month that we created in partnership, with Legacy. So I wanna give them a shout out. It came because Michael Kitts has published an article about client NPS. And
Mm, mhm.
so there's a whole so I gotta give Kits his credit too. So there's a whole strategy that, our clients started coming to us and saying, "Hey, we read this on Kits's, or we work with Legacy, and this is what they do, and can you automate this for us?" And that's the biggest problem Snappy Kraken solves. Like, we're automating and scaling tech. So and the ability to communicate at scale and build relationships at scale. So when we saw this concept, we're like, "Wow, this makes a lot of sense," and it's been proven to work by hundreds of advisors that they've worked with. So I think it's the best way to systematically generate referrals I've ever seen. And so this is basically the way it works. Once a year, or it could be on a client anniversary if you want to keep it like recurring. So it's not all your clients at once. Reach out to your clients, do a quick NPS survey. And based on the results of the NPS survey, there's certain follow ups and it sets up the referral conversation really effectively. So, for example, ask how we're doing. 1 to 10, we would not recommend you. 2, we would recommend you. Everybody that's on the higher end of the scale, of course, that means there's an opportunity for a referral. So then there's automated follow-up and outreach that basically, says, "Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Would you be willing to have a quick conversation with me? I want to ask you about your feedback." And then there's a very focused script to say, "Hey, thank you so much. You said you would be willing to recommend us." Of course, that's not the lead in. But there's a whole talk track on how to harvest those referrals. So what we're doing in our system is we're giving both the automation to start the conversation, the prompt when you get the response. So remember I told you with leads, we're scoring leads. You can also score your client leads in terms of
Mm,
likelihood to give you a referral. So here's a client who's highly engaged and willing to give you a referral. Here's a talk track, or here's a text message template, or here's an email template to send with one click. So you click to call, click to text, click to email, and then here's what to say to harvest the referrals. And so advisors, we are building this on Snappy Kraken today, but advisors that have been doing this for years have a lot of success with it. And so we're going to be launching that with Legacy Group and some other fanfare next year. But the thing that's exciting to me is there is a way to systematically and consistently actually promote the referrals and open the door without seeming needy, with the client being the one who says they're already willing before you even ask the question. And, we're excited to get that out in the market.
yeah, that's great. It's good to just have a repeatable process because there's that whole thing of whenever you pull a bunch of advisors, what's the number one way you get new clients now? Referrals. Great. What's the system you've got for getting those referrals? I don't know because it's some do have a system where they're asking at the end of a meeting or some way, but that seems like a very I don't want to say low commitment because there's some things involved, but yeah, a non pressure way to to get referrals.
That's it. And, this is the kind of thing that you've gotta think about with scale. Especially there's margin pressure on our business, and there's compensation, changes that may come in our industry, and so the ability to serve more clients in less time is a critical skill. So even with something like this, we build the campaign, you personalize it one time, you opt into it, and every year on the client anniversary, the client's gonna get that. you're going to get prompted for the right responses at the right time to the right people. That's a single use case of technology, but it solves a problem. Do I have a systematic way to follow up and harvest referrals and capture feedback on my experience that my clients are having, and even identify risks or clients who I need to service better? Yeah, just automate it. And the more things in your business you can do that with, new client onboarding, events, prospect nurturing when they come into your funnel, top of funnel activities, the more freedom you give yourself. And that's what we love to see, is advisors being able to just focus on doing the work, you can't replace that face-to-face, high quality work and thought leadership. And so much more of it can be done on autopilot.
That's great. You've one of the best, being honest, one of the best advisor conferences coming up in June 2025. I'll see you there. Anything advisors should know about that? Maybe we could put a link below this video, but anything, what's the quick 30-second idea there for Jolt?
You know what? It is the best. Objectively, Kits has said it's one of the top 5 best conferences of the year. So, you'll be speaking there. That's because you're one of the best at advisor video. And that's what we do. We bring the best of the best from our industry and outside in their area together for 3 days. So yeah, let's put a discount code below, Dave, for your audience. And anybody that registers through it can get 20% off of the ticket price.
Excellent. All right. We'll put it down there. And anybody who goes, I'll see you there. June,
Awesome.
Nashville, right? Nashville, Tennessee.
June 9 through 11, Nashville, Tennessee.
Awesome. Robert, this is great. Thanks for sharing the stuff that's working, some futuristic things as well. So we're covering all the bases. We look forward to some of these releases too coming up for Snappy Kraken. It sounds pretty interesting.
We're excited about it. Thank you for having me. And yeah, always a pleasure, Dave.
All right. Take care.